the only local channel covering all of the CNMI.
You're just in time for KMCV News. Here are some of the reports you'll be seeing within the next half hour. Politicians come together in formulating a plan to justify the CNMI's financial needs from the federal government, and the search continues for a Palawan man lost at sea. Family members and police step up their efforts to locate the missing fisherman.
We'll have also the aces up our sleeves. Tonight we conclude a series of baseball bites on the Saipan Major League.
Those stories and much more coming up on KMCV News. Good evening and welcome to the Thursday edition of KMCV News. I'm Glenn Wakai. We'll have weather and sports in just a few minutes, but topping our news this evening. Unification is the key strategy to the May 4th budget hearing in Washington, D.C. That's what several elected officials are saying after today's 7:02 meeting behind closed doors with the Lieutenant Governor at the Aqua Resort Club. Next month's hearings gives representatives from the insular areas the opportunity to justify their funding needs from the U.S. Congress. At the top of this morning's agenda were all the concerns that the U.S. Congress raised at the last oversight hearing on March 18th, such as immigration, tax, and labor. It's hoped this concerted effort between the executive branch and the legislature will allow the CNMI to secure the needed funding. Representative Pete Regis says this time the CNMI may have a concrete plan to show Congress.
It appears that the Senate President is committed to looking into this and acting on it expeditiously so that these bills can be signed into law and be taken over to Washington and as proof of those commitment and concern.
During last month's congressional hearings, the Commonwealth was denied 702 funding because of several critical issues. But Lieutenant Governor Benjamin T. Manglotnya feels confident about fielding all their questions, especially those regarding alien labor.
Very intensive business. And one thing they should really know is that even if we let our people work starting from age 15 up to 65, we only can have about 7,000 or 8,000 workers that we can provide from our own local people. And naturally, there's a need for foreign labor. And some of the members of Congress don't understand that.
Senate President Juan Demapon, who was very critical after the CNMI's failure to secure federal funds, seems optimistic about this united effort.
In there is terrific. It's great. I think we're heading into the right direction, unified position on the critical issues that are facing us at this time.
The Lieutenant Governor will be representing Governor Larry I. Guerrero at next month's congressional hearing. The federal hammer falling on the Commonwealth is threatening hammers from falling in the Commonwealth. The CNMI Contractors Association is not taking a wait-and-see approach. A U.S. representative has introduced two bills which would drastically change the construction climate in the CNMI. One would end 702 funding. The second would impose federal immigration laws here. Contractors don't want to leave their future in the hands of local politicians.
To some people, it may be just a threat. To me, I don't think so. I think they mean business.
These contractors feel a termination of $120 million in federal funding would significantly affect their balance sheets. The CNMI Contractors Association is bracing for what could be an economic disaster.
If this really happens, then many of the contractors, especially smaller contractors, I think almost all of us in here will probably feel the adverse impact.
A vast majority of the bricks laid and nails hammered in the Commonwealth are done so by foreign laborers. Guerrero says Caligari's second bill applying federal immigration laws to the CNMI would send workers and their employers packing.
Perhaps as they leave, the businesses will start closing down, and the big businesses, perhaps even the hotels, will start packing up and taking off. and then you're going to see nothing but ghost town.
A few in the group wondered who's addressing the issues raised by U.S. representatives. They don't blame the federal government, they blame local politicians.
You were the legislature. You know a lot of those guys up there. What the hell do we have to do to get these guys to understand that this is crucial, that it's critical?
Zamil likens the situation to lawmakers watching their house burn but not calling the fire department. Guerrero responded by speculating Commonwealth leaders just don't understand how to deal with the U.S. government.
They're fed up because they want the CNMI to do something, and we're just taking our sweet time and trying to respond to their concern, and we're not doing it.
To ensure their interests are known to U.S. congressmen, members voted to send a representative to the upcoming budget request hearings in Washington, D.C. on May 4th. And it's day 3 in the search for a man missing since Tuesday. Melvin Ingrakli went spearfishing off Tanapag Reef with 2 companions. Today, the 25-year-old man's relatives joined efforts with public boating safety officials to scour the Tanapag and Manyagaha waters. They all hope to find any trace that would lead to the missing Palawan man. A look at the face of the man's mother and wife were filled with grief and despair. The man's aunt Sabina says all their family members and close friends gather at night and pray that he's still alive somewhere out near Manyagaha.
I pray that I wish he's still alive.
DPS Chief Tony Regis says they're exerting extra effort hoping to find any signs of the missing man.
Belongs to the missing person, that will do it. We will extend the search. Now what we're doing is we're doing diving.
Okay. 1 month ago, the governor asked the legislature to approve the first female special judge to sit on the CNMI bench. Several people now question the delay of Jane Mack's confirmation. It took just a few days to confirm attorney Miguel Demapon's position as associate judge. Mack, however, says there is no need to rush and adds that she can be patient while waiting for the legislature's final say. Senate President Juan Demapon recently wrote to the governor expressing his satisfaction towards the governor's selection. Demapon hopes that the present Senate leadership will speed up action for her confirmation so she can start serving the Commonwealth in the interest of justice. And coming up next, it was a grand opening for a new tower at a Susupi hotel, and last-minute filers will make their way to the Revenue Tax Office to meet the April 15th deadline. The tax deadline is here. April 15th is the last day to file your income taxes, and so far over 600 procrastinators have dropped off their tax forms at the Revenue Tax Office. This was the scene this afternoon at the Revenue Tax Office. Many people had those familiar excuses as to why they waited until today.
Yes, I wait for the last minute because I was so busy. I'm working at Cobluvio Elementary School and I don't have time for a lot of meetings. I've been attending a lot of meetings.
But you found time today?
Yes, today at my work I felt so run down since I know that it's the last day.
I'm a procrastinator. I'm really good on other details, but when it comes to financial matters, I'm nowhere. It's so easy for me to put it off, and then I put it off till the last minute, until the check bounces, till the bank's call for whatever reason. So.
Why did you wait till the last minute?
Probably because of my job. I'm used to taking care of everybody's accounts first. I'm a banker, and then you forget about your own, so.
I think I knew one of those ladies. If you still haven't filed, the office will be open until 10 o'clock tonight. Henry Pangilinan from the Revenue Tax Office says if you don't make the deadline, the penalties are pretty stiff.
If you owe on local side, we penalize you based on our local penalties, which is 10% for late payment and 15% interest.
The office may be open until 10, but Pangilinan says if the crowd dies down earlier, they will close earlier. And the World War II was a taxing experience for the CNMI. Display items for a planned war museum are beginning to pile up. This is the former collection of World War II correspondent Robert Benny. He landed with the Marines during their invasion of the island 48 years ago. Benny took pictures, painted pictures, and collected memorabilia from frontline battle sites. Historic Preservation Officer Mike Fleming was instrumental in securing the collection.
The collection itself is very important because other institutions such as the Chicago Museum of Natural History competed with us in order to purchase this particular collection because nobody has this collection. This collection is very important to us because we're trying to build the American Memorial Park War Museum.
Washington Representative Juan Bobalta was on hand at this morning's ceremony. His office was involved 2 years ago in hunting down Robert Benny and negotiating a price with him for the collection. Bobalta says the collection also contains hundreds of black and white photographs.
The pictures covered civil things, you know, like the temporary construction of field hospital tents and things like taking care of the sick and the wounded, and pictures of the natives and their involvement and their role and the suffering that went on during the war.
Fleming says the collection is well preserved. Benny often exhibited the artifacts together with his paintings on a traveling show. And the Saipan Grand Hotel was one of the first establishments to usher in the tourism industry here in the CNMI. Today, the hotel unveiled its new Emerald Tower. The additional 72 rooms increases the hotel's grand total to 224. Chairman of the board, Keniichi Kajii, says Saipan's natural beauty attracted him to the island 15 years ago.
Saipan has become a wonderful resort island, as nobody could have ever dreamed before. We believe that thanks to our move from tradition to modernism, we will please our customers all the more.
It shows vision. You plan for the future, and your foresight has been rewarded. Over those years, you have worked with our people and helped to develop our community.
The $4.4 million expansion makes the Saipan Grand the 6th largest hotel in the Commonwealth. The culture and heritage of the island needs to be seen from a child's perspective. That's according to Dr. Nancy Flood, who has a grant from the Humanities Council to teach creative writing. The goal of her weekend workshops is to compel teachers and their students to write about life in the CNMI.
The strongest stories that we have are the stories that come from within us, the stories that come from our own experiences. And to validate that for children, that they don't need to write about the snow in America, or they don't need to write about Hawaii, but what's really, really important and exciting is their own experiences. And then it validates not only who they are, but the traditions, the families, the place they come from, and it also stimulates an interest to learn more.
Dr. Flood showed off samples of books written from an Indigenous child's perspective. She also explains how young writers can adapt a popular children's story to reflect life here in the CNMI.
In Micronesian ways. The idea that you can use a format, make it very non-threatening to children. Let's write about Curious George comes to Saipan. And so the children can bring in their own experiences. What would this monkey do if he came to Saipan? What kind of trouble would he get into?
Interested teachers should show up for the free workshop Friday night at the vocational building at the college. The student portion of the workshop is scheduled for next week. And here's a creative writer and a creative sportscaster, Longshot Willie. What's going on in the sports world?
Well, we have more NFL contract signings and highlights in the MLB. And it's a race for the last spot in the NBA Eastern Conference. For today's sports fans, is the final inning for Bob's Baseball Bites. Bob Codine has been featuring a profile in each team of the Saipan Major League. Tonight's feature is on the Aces.
Baseball fans, this is Bob's Baseball Bites. Tonight we'll examine the Aces, sponsored by UMDA and managed by the veteran Tony Satur. Their pitching staff is led by Elmer Sablon, who has one of the best curveballs you've ever seen on Saipan. He went 4-3 last year with an ERA of 3.46. Relievers include Giovanni Mira and Alfonso Abraham. Behind the plate is tough guy Jerry Adzuzu. He has power and hit .447 last year. The first sacker is Eddie Capileo, who is second overall in career doubles for the Saipan Major League with 19. He batted .311 last year. Lefty rookie Nick Strauss can also play first base. Gung-ho team captain Glenn Palacios covers second base. He led the team in RBIs last year and has slugged 2 homers in his brief career. Always a good hitter. He batted .433 last year. Rookie Peter Parker, or Peter Quack as they say, could see lots of action this year. He can play second base and packs a lot of pop in his bat. Slick fielding Steve Coleman, a rookie from Portland, Oregon, plays shortstop. The veteran spark plug Jess Wobble mans the hot corner. He provides leadership both in the field and in the dugout for the Aces. Anthony Pangilinan is the left fielder. He made the All-Star team last year and compiled a .378 batting average. The center fielder is speedster Inosuke Yamada. He hit .261 in his rookie season last year. The right field will be shared by a couple of strong arms, Tony Luzama, the basketball wizard, and Francis George. The Aces have a strong and versatile bench led by Windsor Peter, Walter Macarenas, Peter Camacho, Ben Hokog, and yes, the legend Elias Rangamar. The Aces are my sleeper team pick for this year. Hey, stay tuned later on for more of Bob's Baseball Bites.
The Aces got their second win as they defeated the Toyota Wills last night with a final score of 12-6. Tonight at the Civic Center baseball field, you can catch the big league baseball. The game is between San Vicente A's and the Coplerville Hustlers.
As you stare at the TV, you're probably wondering what's going on outside your window. And what a coincidence. I've got the information you desperately need. Let's go to the weather scoreboard to see that the surf will be 4 to 6 feet on northern clockwise through southeastern beaches and reefs, and 2 to 4 feet elsewhere. The seas tonight will be slight to moderate at 3 to 5 feet. Our first tide tonight will be a low one at 4/10 of a foot at 9:21. Our next high tide will be 2.2 feet at 4:38 tomorrow morning. The sun will set tonight in just a few minutes at 6:37 and rise again tomorrow morning sharp at 6:10. For tonight, forecasters say we can expect partly cloudy skies with isolated light showers, winds from the east at 10 to 15 miles per hour. The low temperature will be in the mid-70s. And for tomorrow, expect mostly sunny skies to start off your weekend on the right foot. And from beautiful weather, we go to beauty of a different kind. It was glitz and glamour at the Hyatt Regency last night for the Miss CNMI beauty pageant. The evening started with 8 contestants vying for the title. They were judged on their appearances in a swimsuit, evening gown, and answers to questions posed by the hosts. In the end, 20-year-old Vicky Tadella, a mainstay of fine weather reporting here at KMCV, was crowned as Miss CNMI. Vicky will be leaving in a week and a half to Mexico City for the Miss Universe pageant. KMCV will cablecast the entire Miss CNMI beauty pageant on Saturday at 7 p.m. And congratulations to Vicky. That's it. The party's over. On behalf of the entire KMCV News team, thanks for watching us. We'll see you again tomorrow. Good night, everyone.
Adios, everybody.